have the next round's pairings already, and Magnus, he is playing a very talented Indian grandmaster here in the third round.
Yeah, and this is not going to be easy at all. Over 3,000, Magnus's opponent, and Magnus is therefore going to play his A-list openings. He starts with e4. I believe that this opponent, Mitrabha, has beaten Magnus in the past online in Blitz, so it's not going to be easy. This is a CARO-KANN defense. We've seen pawns traded off. We see a bit of a quirky variation with an early pin on the black knight. That has caused an exchange there, a knight for bishop. So Magnus gets the bishop pair. And just like he did in game one that we saw earlier, he gets the Carlsbad pawn structure, which is basically the queen's gambit declined. Here, just with reverse colors. Now there's a hit on his pawn, which will move, or the pawn next to it might move as well. This is a very trendy line, and he's making it as positional as possible against these young opponents, these young, dangerous grandmasters.
And this is a very difficult opponent for Magnus already in the third round here. Mitrabha, he has been able to get 8 points as his best result in a Titled Tuesday out of 11, which is obviously a very good result, but means that he's been just shy of the top 10 a couple of times now. But he's played a lot of Titled Tuesdays, and he's 24 years old, a grandmaster, of course, and a very high chess.com rating. So this is certainly someone who Magnus would not be comfortable playing against already in the third round.
Yeah, and the position changing again. Now Magnus has allowed black to trade off his bishop pair. One bishop has disappeared. It's just bishop for knight now, but an isolated pawn in the center of the board does give him something long-term to play against. Weakness for black. Magnus will try to round up that pawn and win it later in the game.
You should have traded the... I really want bishop c2, but rook e1 and then d4 is a problem.
Okay, Magnus doesn't seem very optimistic when we're just looking at his body language and what he's saying.
It's funny, I've actually had almost this exact position from the black side, and it tends to be very, very solid. Queen and knight work very well together. Queen and bishop also a decent duo, but the queen and the knight, somehow, something about the way the knight moves can be great attacking forces. Normally black wants to push a pawn to g6 a bit later, move the king forward to g7, and everything's defended. It's only one weakness. Normally you need two weaknesses to win a game of chess. So black here has everything covered for now. The white bishop did reach b3, as Magnus was talking about when we listened to him, but taking this pawn would result in the pawn behind the bishop dropping off. So it's not going to be easy. That would be after an exchange in the center, the black queen doing the business. So I'm predicting here that this is going to be a long, long, hard grind. Not going to be decided in the next 15, 20 moves. It's going to be far, far beyond that.
And what is Magnus trying to achieve then? Is he trying to win the pawn in the center? Because he could have taken it, but he didn't.
Yeah, I think he's going to really slow play this. I could imagine him eventually just pushing his pawn forward, king on the light square, just kind of keeping it super safe. At some point, maybe he'll offer a trade of queens when the time is right. And yeah, it's just tough to know. Like this type of position, slightly better according to the computer, but it's all about long-term plans. And that's why Magnus is thinking he's actually lower on time. Mitrabha doing well.
Oh, well.
I'm always excited to hear what is Magnus's take on the position, but sometimes just a sigh and saying, oh, well. But this is the plan that you were talking about earlier, David, and Magnus playing slowly here.
Yeah, it's hard to explain why. This is just something that I've seen top grandmasters do for years. Normally, especially if you have a light squared bishop, for example, it's nice to put your king on a light square because later your bishop can sit in front of that king and everything in your half of the board is covered. It's just nice to avoid any back rank checkmates. The king going to a dark square just felt wrong somehow. So yeah, it's one of those, it looks like absolutely nothing, but it could be important later, just easier to safeguard the king. And it's also difficult for Mitrabha to find a plan. He's rock solid, but black doesn't really have anything productive to do.
Yeah, because all of his pieces are almost in the best spot they could possibly be. So what is he going to do now?
Yeah,
he moves a pawn on the side. It's almost like this hot potato game where it's just like, it's your turn, it's your turn. And Mitrabha actually spent quite a bit of time just making this move that seemingly doesn't really do much.
Exactly, just a waiting move.
Yeah.
And, if anything, it worsens the black position, I would say, because the pawns are all on light squares now. The bishop might be able to get them in the endgame long, long way down the line. But it's like you said, hot potato. I used to play this game. It was kind of like stop the exploding bomb. You just pass it, and eventually it blows up on someone. And that probably means, in this case, whoever has the move when the clocks are really low, whoever makes the first mistake, queen's offered. And the queen exchange here, if the queens disappear, Magnus is going to take back with his pawn. But now he's fixed all of the black pawns on light squares. I think he's happy to trade queens. Then he'll bring his king in a bit later. And the black knight's going to be the defender. The white bishop's going to be the attacker. It's going to be a small but stable advantage.
5, and then queen d4. Not queen d4 immediately.
Okay, maybe was he making did he have some regrets about the way he'd done things?
I think he was quite happy. I think he was saying, okay, that's why I played g3, king g2, all this stuff before I went queen d4, because then my king is just a bit closer to the center.
Oh.
And he waited until black had put everything on light squares. This is like watching a 7-hour classical game of chess.
Yeah.
This is by far away from a blitz game.
But it's also interesting how quickly we kind of adapt, because I mean, we've spent lots of hours in our lives watching classical chess games. Even this starts to feel a little bit slow when because it's so unusual for how these blitz games usually are, which is more mistakes and blunders, and that they are lower on time. But here it's been like they've really been able to play a normal chess game here.
Yeah, exactly. And great move from Mitrabha, by the way. He's threatening a check, and there's a vulnerable pawn behind the white king. Just reminding white's king that it can't come out into the open just yet. There we go. Magnus's rook has to go on the defensive. I'm expecting Mitrabha at some point to maybe flick in a check, or at some point drop back with his knight. There we go. But white's rook will get access in the near future. And I saw at the top of our screens a moment ago that Duda's won his first 3 rounds.
Yeah, very quickly.
Total of 5 minutes.
Wow.
That is wild.
That is in contrast to both Magnus and Hikaru that we've been looking at the games of today. They've been taking their time, but Magnus here also has a 25-second lead on the clock, which could also be useful, as we remind our viewers again and again that they don't have any increment on their clock, so they don't get any more time. Once you've spent a second, you are never getting it back.
Yeah, and Mitrabha spent more seconds than Magnus. That could be the key. His position still looks very holdable. I'm expecting, mistake there. Big mistake, apparently. There we go. He's blundered a pawn. I said he was just going to drop back his knight and just sit and wait and do nothing. But there we go. Not only is the knight now undefended, but the pawn on g5 will be undefended. He's just made a bad position worse. And Magnus has won a pawn. We know how good he is in these endgames.
Magnus is so patient. He was able to, I think if I was playing a lower rated player and I had this kind of a position, I would start to panic and think, oh, how am I not getting any advantage? Why they're not making any mistakes? And then suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, he gets the gift of a pawn, and that should be enough according to the evaluation bar.
Yeah, an undermining sacrifice, taking away the defender of the black knight at the cost of white's bishop, means Magnus is up a pawn. And it's not just any old pawn, it's a passed pawn in the center. It will later start running, defended by a very, very active king as well. But Mitrabha's doing the right thing. He's trying to get active with his rook. Some targets of his own. Magnus pushes a pawn forward. Things are disappearing. It's only 3 versus 2 now.
Okay.
But, that's the clincher at the end of the story here. The sting in the tail, the pawn on h5, indefensible. Magnus now 2 pawns up. That's the magic number in rook endgames. He's going to win this.
And Magnus has a very central king as well, doing an important defensive job of several of the pawns. And he looks very confident. He has more time on the clock. Should be winning.
Should be winning. But so many rook endgames, they disappear.
Yeah.
Like the advantage just evaporates in one move. So he cannot relax. In a classical game, he would win this. But now 1 minute for Magnus. Mitrabha just needs to get lucky with some pre-moves. Play really, really fast. But he's let the white king in now. There's an easy path to victory. The white king is going to step forward. The h-pawn is going to promote. Unstoppable. Magnus is going to get this now. And there we go. Mitrabha just resigns. Magnus grinding like a grandmaster.
And he doesn't seem to react much to it. But Magnus now has 3 out of 3 points. So does Hikaru, that we see also has won his 3rd game. And it's usually around